Well, it kind of looks like Supergirl is definitely going to be the flop that everybody said. Now, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't super duper excited for the James Gunn version of Supergirl, and I have watched this, and this is basically a James Gunn movie by the numbers. So either one of two things happened. Either the talentless dipshit that wrote this movie, or feigns to have written this movie, either she just basically copied every James Gunn film for the last 15 years, or James Gunn actually wrote this garbage and put her name on it. He ghost wrote this shit. There's no convincing me otherwise that he did not have a hand in the writing of this movie. It is complete and utter garbage. But that's not what we're here for today. Today, let's look at Supergirl's numbers for this last weekend, okay? So far, since opening day, Supergirl has made $100,470,000 with a budget of 170. And as I've said before, this is probably more like 220, 225 in reality of the actual production budget. They're doing that mental Hollywood math bullshit somewhere. And add on 70 or 100,000. We'll be nice and say 70 million for the box office. So we're going to call it, give or take, around 300 million just to break even when you go just by that little bit of math, and you're not including the fact that the box office takes an average of 50%. So really, this movie would have to make around 600 and something million to actually break even. Okay? And it's doing the July 3rd to the July 4th weekend, ranked 4, and made less than $10 million and had a 74% drop off. While during the same weekend, Young Washington did $20 million on the July 3rd. 20 million with, let me see here, less theaters. With 1,000, that's 1,000, yeah, with nearly 1,000, more than 1,000 less theaters, Young Washington over the July 4th weekend did twice as much as Supergirl. Which leads me into the digital release of Supergirl coming up this month. With Lobo becoming the face of Supergirl's digital release. Because nobody wants to buy a movie with that homeless looking bent on the cover. That's why. Which annoys me because I do not think Millie Alcock, whatever. I do not think she's an ugly woman. I don't. Matter of fact, in House of the Dragon, I thought she was kind of cute. All right. I think when they do her upright, she's kind of a cutie. But that's just my opinion. I have weird taste in the ladies. Okay. But that's something for another day. Leave me alone. Where was going? Warner Brothers has quietly changed what Supergirl is selling, and it isn't Supergirl. Digital storefronts have updated the movie's cover art to feature Jason Momoa's Lobo standing alongside Millie Alcock's Kara, As recently as a week ago, the listing used solo images of Supergirl in the classic hero pose. The swap was spotted on r Reddit yuck DC cinematic by a poster with access to WBD's Media Hub. So they took just Supergirl to Supergirl and Lobo because they're hoping, they're praying that somehow, whoever sees this is like, wow, I didn't know there was a Supergirl movie. Oh my god, it's got Lobo. Lobo is so awesome. I'm going to buy this now. Even though the vast majority of people who see this aren't going to know who the fuck Lobo is anyway. Yeah, like I was saying, the vast majority of them aren't going to know who Lobo was anyway. Let's see here. But when is this coming out? Because it's coming out so very soon. July 28th. That's right. A July 28th digital release. So that means that this movie spent. When was the release date? I gotta go to the actual release date. June 26th. June 26th. This movie was released in theaters. And it will probably hit digital release on July 28th. Let that sink in. Supergirl spends a month and a day, let me be technical, a month and a day in the theater before it hits digital release because it's doing so bad. July 4th was a 77% drop off. July 5th, yesterday's weekend, 56%. An average on July 4th, a time when you would think that a Supergirl movie would actually be doing okay, it makes an average of $694 per theater. You know what? I'm pretty sure in this case, the numbers definitely speak for themselves, right? I'm pretty sure that they've spoke for themselves here. And obviously, they still blame us. They still blame the chuds, whatever the fuck that means. They still blame the people who the movie is supposed to cater to for not seeing a movie that does not cater to them. It really doesn't make. Well, no, it makes absolutely no sense at all. Anyway, what do you think? Are you gonna, if you haven't seen Supergirl, which I'm assuming that the vast majority of you have not, please don't waste your money on it. Don't waste your money on it. Don't go see it because fucking Angry Joe or whoever still tells you to go see a movie so he can maybe get a Superman movie later. No, we don't want that. We don't want James Gunn verse shit anymore. We're done with that. I want a Superman that's wholesome. I would love a Supergirl starring Millie Alcock because I think she's actually a very decent actress. Maybe that was actually to the characters that we grew up with. I would really like that. That'd be awesome. Anyway, what do you think? Do you think this is gonna go down as probably the, or at least close to one of the largest superhero flop movies in relative history?